So I want to welcome everybody tonight to our SALT Talks. So in September, we've been looking at preparing for that transition and what does that look like. So we started with at the beginning of the month transition like county board services, the IEP. How do you prepare for that transition into maybe some sort of program or when you graduate into employment. Last week we looked at Project Life, Project Search, Career X, all the possible employment options just for that transition as well. Looking at those options and what does that look like? Because when your child graduates or when that bus no longer stops, these are decisions that you need to face. And as a parent, I'm fully aware of when we face those decisions, just the not knowing. And it's so helpful to know going into the transition before you have to make these decisions, just to know what's out there and what's available, and just kind of be more prepared because it does take you off guard quite easily. And it gets very overwhelming very, very quickly. So I don't know if I introduced myself, but I'm Patty Schramm. I'm the Parent Resource Trainer Coordinator for the SALT Talks. So tonight I wanted to welcome, we have speakers from Sinclair and we have Wright State. And then at the end, we're going to have there's Miami is starting a new program called Access Miami, and they'll be talking at the very end. So they will be joining us here shortly as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tristan with Sinclair. If you want to go ahead and get started, and then we'll follow by Wright State. But you can go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and then your program, and go ahead and into your presentation.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for coming, everybody. I'm really excited. I know I see some familiar faces slash names in the crowd tonight, so it's always good to reconnect with folks. My name is Tristan Chaput, and I am the program coordinator and faculty for the Tartan Tops program at Sinclair. This program we're going to hit 5 years in January. We started in January 2021 with 4 students. And this fall, we welcomed 45 students to campus. So we have had massive growth, and there's lots of exciting things. So I'm thrilled to be able to share with you today. I have a PowerPoint to share. Patty, if you can just verbally let me know if my screen share is working. Sometimes when I share it, everybody else disappears. So
Yes.
bear with me, this technology.
We'll watch the chat box for you too, because I know how that goes.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much. So a little bit about Tartan Tops. So at Sinclair, 1 in 5 students have some sort of disability. That does not necessarily mean intellectual and developmental disability, but 1 in 5 students is served through accessibility services. Now, what we were finding is students with intellectual disabilities, they were attending Sinclair, but they were often falling through the cracks due to difficulty navigating supports, campus resources, but they still wanted to be here. They were struggling. They were stopping out because, like their non-disabled peers, students still have the desire and interest to attend college. They want to gain skills for the workplace. They want the social experience. Their friends are going to college. Maybe their siblings have gone to college. So that is a natural progression in adult life. They want to increase their independence. And so what we did at Sinclair is we created Tartan Tops. And TOPS stands for Transition Option in Post-Secondary Education. So a fancy way of saying transitioning to college after high school. Our program is a part-time certificate program for students with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Our students are on campus 2 days a week. Typically in the first year, it's Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then we transition to Mondays and Wednesdays in the second year. And all of our classes happen at the downtown Dayton campus. Typically, I always tell students we start with 2 classes per semester. I can be convinced to add a third, but I can't be convinced to add beyond that. Beyond 3 classes is considered a full-time load, and I never want somebody to take on more than they feel like they can manage. I want everybody to feel really good about their college experience and not get overwhelmed. So typically, we recommend starting with 2 classes. College isn't a race, so we can go at a slow pace to make sure we're successful. Students who complete our pathway earn a comprehensive transition program certificate. So our students are getting college credit. These are not auditing classes. They're taking inclusive college classes for college credit. And our program provides wraparound supports to provide students with the best chance of success. We consider ourselves to be pretty unique. College and life are not one size fits all. We know that. And so we focus on a student's strength, really focusing on what are you good at? What are you passionate about? And how can we help you find a career that matches your skills and your passions? So we have a lot of different pathways available. Sinclair has over 300 certificates and programs, and we encourage students to really look at all of their options. Students do pay tuition and fees, but we do not have any program fees specifically for Tartan Top students. That is not necessarily the case at other colleges that have comprehensive transition programs. So our students pay tuition, college fees, and then they would pay if they have a lab fee for a specific class, books, transportation, things like that, but there's no Tartan Tops fee. We waive placement testing. Now, we may recommend placement testing depending on a student's goal. Testing either has to do with writing or math. So if a student's goal is engineering, for example, I'm going to suggest that they take the math placement test, but that is not a factor into whether or not that student would be accepted into Tartan Tops. And there are 10 programs like ours throughout the state of Ohio. We're part of GLPSE, which is the Great Lakes Inclusive Postsecondary Alliance. We're part of the Ohio Statewide Consortium. So there are many programs that we like to collaborate with across our region. So we are doing best practice, and so we're collaborating together. We actually have had a student at Sinclair who has graduated and transferred down to the University of Cincinnati's campus for their program. Is this a good pace? Am I doing okay? So program applicants, what are we looking for in a candidate? Students have to accept a high school diploma or equivalent by the start of class. So they cannot be dually enrolled in high school and in Sinclair's Tartan Tops program. They have to have a documented intellectual and developmental disability. That could be something like an IEP, 504, or other documentation. There are currently no age restrictions. So when we first started the program 5 years ago, we had a federal grant that restricted ages. So I think it was 18 to 24. We have no age restrictions currently. Now, if we get another grant down the road, that may change, but I'm excited to say that I think our oldest student is 48. We've had a lot of 30-year-olds come back because sometimes you're not ready when you graduate high school for college. Sometimes you're not sure what that next step is. So we currently have no age restrictions. We're looking for some computer literacy skills. So can your student log into their computer independently? Could they bring up a Word document? Can they log into their email? I know they might not be checking their email, but can they get into that system? LMS, that's our learning management system. Could they log into that independently? And we can help them navigate from there, but can they get into the computer independently? Writing skills, I'm going to talk a little bit about our classes in a minute. But students should be able to write complete sentences. We do have essays as part of one of our classes. So having some basic writing, whether that is, typing, physically writing, using dictation, but can they write complete sentences? Managing items independently, so keeping track of their things is really what we're looking for. And navigating campus. By no means do we expect somebody to walk on campus day one and navigate independently. We assist for several weeks. But are we able to ease up those supports? Because we have 45 students. If a student needs to use the restroom, if a student needs to go to the library for to check out a book, if they want to go to the cafeteria, we can't guarantee that somebody's going to be available in that moment. So, can they navigate independently to a certain extent? Students should expect independence. That's one of the things students love about Sinclair is that they have independence with a lot of supports in place. They have people that they can go to when they need help. But supports for academics take place outside of the classroom. We're able to offer appropriate academic accommodations, but our tutoring, our transition specialists, all of those supports happen outside of the classroom. Accommodations happen inside of the classroom. They should expect homework. That is sometimes a surprise, but they will have reading, they will have papers, they will have assignments that take place at home. Attendance is crucial. I know this is something that is a challenge in K-12. I know this is something that is a challenge in college, but students have to attend class. They have to go to meetings. They have to go to tutoring. These are success strategies. When a student is participating, showing up, going to class, they are going to have a better chance of being successful. And a willingness to learn. They should have a goal in attending college. They should have a reason for being there and kind of this driving motivation. We can offer all of these supports, but if a student isn't doing their homework or quizzes or things like that, unfortunately, they're not going to have a great chance of success. So, what are these classes? These inclusive classes for college credit. Well, we start with Life Skills 1 in the first semester. Our classes take place in fall and spring. We have summers off. Life skills is really a first year experience. So, it is how do I navigate college? How do I access resources? How do I get involved? College is a lot more than just going to class, it's being part of a community. How do I participate in my community? Today in life skills, we had the librarian come in and talk about the library resources, talk about activities. We did some social skills conversations about how do we have better conversations with people. In interpersonal communication, we really see that as a foundational course. Communication is crucial in all that we do. That is taught by communication faculty, and that is on a pass fail scale. So success means 60% or better. There are weekly quizzes, there are essays, there are assignments in that class. It's tough. Many people will say that that is the hardest class of our program, but if you use your supports, we have a 90% success rate on the first try. Semester 2 is life skills too. So that's where we're really thinking about what kind of career do I want? Where do I want to live? Is my career an option in that city or in that town? What skills do I have? What skills do I need? And really doing a deep dive into career. We match that with an elective. So for this example pathway, I've put HMT 1105. That is a hospitality course. But again, Sinclair has over 300 certificates and programs. So students are not limited. They just have to meet the prerequisites for that course. Work skills 1 and 2 are transferable skills, skills that everybody needs to be successful in the workplace. Teamwork, time management, motivation, positive attitude, things of that nature. And in internships, those are those practice job experiences. I'm looking for 3 things when I'm looking for an internship. One, has a student ever worked before? If not, we need to get work experience of some sort. So we can build a resume, so we can have work references. 2, are there skills that your student wants to work on? I tell students all the time, I worked at a bakery for 9 years. And you might not think that that bakery job is helpful in the classroom, but I can manage a classroom because I can manage a bakery on Christmas Eve. I know how important attention to detail is because I've helped people with their first baby's birthday cake and I've helped people with their wedding cake. So I can also help people when they're really stressed. And so we talk about those transferable skills. What do you want to work on? And third, whenever possible, of course, we want students to have direct experience in their field of interest. So students really pursue a variety of things. The hospitality class is for Introduction to Hospitality and Tourism. Students who get a 70% or better receive a short-term certificate. That's an 8-week class, 70% or better, you automatically get a short-term certificate. We have partnerships with business information systems, so we do offer a pass-fail class. But in general, we have currently have students pursuing 15 different pathways. And what we're finding is that students want to stay at Sinclair after they graduate. So, so 46% of our alumni, we have 39 alumni right now. 46% of them are currently enrolled in Sinclair pursuing further education. They want to get certificates, they want to get associate degrees. We've had two students who are not included in this percentage. One already has her CDA. She is employed full time at a daycare as an assistant teacher. She was my son's assistant teacher. Um, and we have another student who just got his supply management technician certification. But again, we have a variety of interests and a variety of strengths. I get this question a lot. Wait, our class is hard. You're going to be challenged. You're taking college level classes. It's going to be challenging at times. But just because you're challenged doesn't mean that it's not worth it and doesn't mean that you won't be successful. We have a lot of amazing supports here, and we encourage students to use them. Supports like the transition success specialist who helps you with assignments, who helps you with person-centered planning, so looking at your whole life and figuring out what your goals are and how you're going to accomplish them. Accessibility services, who are providing academic accommodations. We have a dedicated Tartan Tops tutor, we have peer mentors, we have a neurodiverse support group, and there are so many other departments at Sinclair that are here to help. So we do have a Tartan Tops Lounge. That is our special space on campus for our students. We have assistive technology, peer mentoring, and we do have connections to Sinclair resources, local resources, state, national. Some things to point out specifically are we actually now have two because we were giving them so many referrals, but we have dedicated Tartan Tops case managers with opportunities for Ohioans with disabilities, or OOD. Students in Tartan Tops are Sinclair students first, so they have access to everything at Sinclair. They can participate in campus life. They can be part of clubs and organizations. They can have student employment. There is so much to do at Sinclair. It's a really great community to be a part of, and we really encourage our students to take advantage of everything. As I mentioned, students do pay tuition and fees. That number is based on the number of credit hours a student is enrolled in. For two classes, it's typically either 7 or 8 credit hours. And your fees are dependent upon where you live. So I looked specifically at the state of Ohio. We do have international students, we have out-of-state students. But looking at our folks who live here in Ohio, if you're in Montgomery County, you get a reduced rate because we are levy funded. And then outside of Montgomery County, it is a little bit more expensive. But overall, for 7 credit hours, we're looking at $1,000 to $1,400 per semester. So we consider ourselves to be very affordable. As far as payment, if you can apply to the FAFSA to see if you are Pell eligible, that's determined by the FAFSA. Other than that, it's scholarships or self-pay. Students cannot take out loans to participate in our program, and that's based on our status with the federal government. Some things to consider: books, transportation, again, lab fees. We do encourage students to have a laptop. We have computers on campus, but because they should expect homework, we really encourage students to have a laptop. We are currently recruiting for fall 2026. I know that feels very far away, but it will be here before we know it. Applications are due February 1st. That being said, early decision is a big thing this year. I am going to be out on maternity leave next semester, and so we're really pushing for early applications. And so that means November 1st. So that's just something to be aware of. We're really pushing for that November 1st deadline, so we are able to fully review everybody's application. We have an application for Tartan Top specifically on our website and a skills assessment. We ask that you provide your documentation and have come to campus for a conversation with us. From there, we were able to turn around decisions fairly quickly. If you're interested in Sinclair and you're not sure if we're the right fit, I know it is that November 1st deadline, but I feel really strongly about coming to campus. And there's something about coming to campus and any college visit and picturing yourself there, seeing if it feels right. Come to campus. I'll be at the fall visit day event. It's from 9 to 1. I will be at the open house portion. And a lot of programs at Sinclair also attend this. This is one of two really large events at Sinclair where you can meet with a lot of different people at one time. And so I really encourage you, if you just even type into Google Sinclair Fall Visit Day, that registration link will come up. But that's a great chance to come to campus and meet with Sinclair and just get a feel of it, see if it's the right fit for you. The college search can be really tough. It's kind of hard to figure out where you belong and where you see yourself. ThinkCollege.net is an amazing resource. There are over 360 programs like ours throughout the country. They're in 49 states. Each one is different. I've already told you some of the unique things that, some of the things that make us unique. But check them out. Like I said, there are 10 in the state of Ohio. Look at your options, see what's out there. If your child is not ready to accept a diploma, if they're a bit younger, this is still an amazing resource. They have resources as far as scholarships, financial aid, but most importantly, they have IEP goals and tips for IEP teams. I know with my child in my personal life, when I go to my son's IEP meetings, I need to have all of the things with me. I need to have everything in my toolbox because I know that it tends to be an emotional meeting, at least for me, and I need to have all of my things there. There's some great resources. So check out Think College so you have those in your back pocket for those meetings. This is my contact information. I'm going to stick around. I can't wait to hear about Wright State. I can't wait to hear about Miami. There are so many amazing options for you all. And I know that this might feel daunting right now, but I'm excited to see how many opportunities there are for you and your students. I'm fastest over email, but I am happy to answer questions or just I'll stick around and until the end in case you have anything after. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Tristan. Thank you for all that information. And maybe if you could drop your email or contact just in the chat box, and if someone has something more personal to ask you or something more instead of a general question. So with that, we're going to go ahead and look at Wright State. Um, we have Nikki. I made you a co-host. Where you at, Rikki? There you are, Rikki. And then I know, and you'll probably want to introduce. We also have Phillip Penrod here, also as part of that as well. So I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourselves and go ahead and talk about Wright State. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. I'm Rikki Morris. I am Assistant Director at Wright State Disability Services. And Phil, do you want to introduce yourself too?
Sure. I'm Phillip Penrod. I'm a college to careers counselor with opportunities for Ohioans with disabilities, and I work with the Office of Disability Services closely. I'm actually housed in their office. So go ahead.
Okay, so I'm going to attempt to share my screen here. Did that work?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, let me. Okay, can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So Disability, so just to start out, we do not have an intellectual disability certificate program the way Sinclair has. So all of our students at Wright State do need to meet the admissions requirements and the academic requirements for their program. But we do have a fairly robust disability services, and we have different programs to support students with different types of disabilities. We have our personal care assistance program and physical supports. We have an autism support program, and I'll talk more about each of those. But we also offer academic and testing accommodations, housing accommodations. We have a technology center where we can convert things to alternative formats, deaf and hard of hearing services, and then vocational services, which is Phil, our embedded OOD counselor who works with our students for OOD related services. And he's actually in our office most days of the week now. So we were voted number 3 in the nation for wheelchair accessibility, and we are kind of known for our physical disability on campus because of our programs that we offer, but also just because of the physical accessibility. Most of our buildings are fairly new compared to other college campuses. And so we do have accessible housing options throughout campus, and all of our buildings and classrooms are accessible. We also have, as far as physical support, and something that we are known for is the personal assistance program. So if you or your kid needs personal care assistance, we do offer supports in that area, and that's actually the program that I manage. We offer Wright State student PAs. So I actually hire personal assistants who will work with students in their dorm to get them out of bed and help them with their activities of daily living and their personal care routines. We also offer a class called Managing Your Personal Care Assistants, and in that we work with students to help them learn some of those independence skills as far as recruiting and hiring and managing their own personal care teams, with the hopes that they'll be able to take on more independence in that area and be able to leave Wright State feeling confident in their ability to go out there and recruit people to be independent providers for them. And we also have we call it the PA station, which is a restroom facility on campus, helping students throughout the day with going to the bathroom. And then we also have students who live on campus who might not use our personal care assistant services, but they use nearby home health care agencies. So we're pretty familiar with personal care assistants coming in and out of residents' buildings and working with them to make sure they have access and the supports that they need. The PA station is located in our student union, so it's right in the center of campus. It's an inclusive bathroom station. We're open 7 days a week. Right now, our hours are 10 to 7, and that is free of charge for all students. And we staff it with student workers. So there's always at least 2 student workers who have been trained on how to help with hygiene, personal care. We have ceiling lifts and slings. We stock it with gloves, wipes, and all of those supplies that are needed. And that's fully funded by donors. So that is something that some of our students will come to Wright State, because even if they need to pay or use their waiver for supports for morning or nighttime, a lot of times having that free service during the day allows them to not have to pay or staff those things during the day, depending on what they need. We also have an autism support program. It's called Raters on the Autism Spectrum Excelling, or RAISE, and that is a peer mentoring program. It has limited space. It's a pretty popular program. Each student gets connected to a peer mentor or coach, and that coach works with them throughout their freshman year, meeting with them once or twice a week to work on social skills, study skills, self-advocacy, and time management tasks, just increasing their independence. They also have social events that everyone is invited to, like game nights and pizza parties, just to help students with autism practice those social skills and get more connected to campus. That does have a fee of $1,000 per semester. If students continue beyond that first year, it's $500 per semester, but usually students will just do it for that initial freshman year. And I put the contact person for that, and then also the link in case anyone is interested in reading more about that. Some common academic and testing accommodations that we do provide, and this will look similar to a lot of other colleges, but we do provide extended time for testing, in-class assignments, readers, writers, or scribes for in-class or tests. We have our assistive technology, so alternative formats, speech-to-text software or text-to-speech software. And then all of our classrooms are physically accessible, and we do have adjustable desks also. The technology center that we have on campus, we do, like I said, we convert things to alternative formats. So we can convert textbooks to PDF format. We can convert things to Braille or raised line images. So things like graphs from math class, we can convert those to raised line. We also have an adaptive computer lab, and we offer live scribe pens that can be checked out from our office. And then as a campus, we also provide Read and Write Gold, which is a text-to-speech software. Our students, anyone can live in campus housing. So every residential community that we have, apartments and dorms, do have accessible rooms. In every residential community, we will have rooms with roll-in showers. We can also adjust the height of the furniture. Some students will bring their own furniture, and we'll make that an accommodation if someone needs to bring like a medical or a hospital bed or medical equipment. We'll make sure they have the right size room to accommodate that. We also provide door clickers and door openers for students that need to open those with a clicker. And then we also can offer things like package delivery for students who are not able to go to the package center and carry their packages back. And of course, service dogs, emotional support animals, we also have some of those on campus, and we have a process to help students navigate that. And then once they're on campus, we do have our residence life activities. So there are different involvement opportunities for students to not get bored on the weekends and hopefully make friends and just live in an inclusive environment. Some other campus resources that we have is in our cafeteria. Our dining services will provide cafeteria assistance free of charge. So that includes carrying a student's tray back to the table, helping them set up their food items. They can't sit there with the student throughout the meal to help them eat, but they can just get things set up, like put straws in a cup, cut things up, things like that. And then we also have this robotic eating device. It's called the OB. We have 3 of those around campus that are available for free for students to check out. And the cafeteria staff will help the students set that up. They can't sit there throughout the meal, but they'll help a student set it up and then help them come back and help them clean it up. We also have our Student Academic Success Center, which offers tutoring services, study coaches, and then our Math Center and our Writing Center. Counseling and wellness services for students with mental health concerns. We have up to 6 sessions a semester. Career services, and then the student involvement and leadership. We have a lot of different student organizations that are accessible and inclusive that students can get involved in whatever their interests are. And we also have adaptive recreation. Our adaptive recreation, we actually just hired a new director for that, and it's been a couple years since we had a full-time staff position. So we have more coming soon in this area, but as of right now, we do have workout assistants that work in our student gym, and students can use those up to 2 hours a week to help with getting on and off the equipment, They do adapted weightlifting. We also have a pool chair lift and adapted aquatics for students that want to swim. And they do at least weekly organized games and activities. So wheelchair basketball, bowling, fencing. We have a rock climbing gym with an accessible harness. We also have we call them Raider rigs, but they are off-road motorized wheelchairs. And we have hiking trails on campus. So those off-road wheelchairs allow the students to access those hiking trails that we have and some of the walking paths. As far as navigating campus, students do have to navigate campus independently when they come to Wright State. Our office is not able to walk them to classes or guide them, but we do have a very accessible campus. Part of that is because we have this underground tunnel system that connects every academic building. So in the winter, we are all underground, and it does help for students who are using wheelchairs or low vision who are trying to navigate over the terrain. This makes it easier to get from building to building and get around in their classes. But we also have the Raider Ride Shuttle, which is just an on-campus bus that makes different stops around from the residence halls and then different academic buildings and down to student health services. And then we also, of course, there are students that use RTA and Green Cats. Our funding, pretty similar to Sinclair for tuition and housing. We do have scholarships available through Wright State, and our office actually has quite a few scholarships also that are specifically for students with disabilities. We also have grants and loans available. I know that with Sinclair, she said loans cannot be used, but for Wright State, since we're not using that type of certificate program, any type of federal financial aid or regular financial aid is accepted. OOD also, Phil, I can let Phil talk maybe in a minute about that, but OOD also provides some support there. And then as far as personal care assistance, we accept for our Wright State personal care assistance, we accept self-pay, or sometimes students who come out of state will use their vocational rehabilitation to pay for that service. Unfortunately, Ohio doesn't usually pay for that service. So usually Ohio residents will be using their waiver through DD or Medicaid. And in that case, Medicaid doesn't cover Wright State PAs. So they use nearby home health care agencies, but I still help them connect with those services. And also there is the Ohio PCA program, which I believe had some recent funding cuts, but Phil might know more about that. But they are private hire only, so they do not cover home health care agencies or the Wright State PAs. Although I do, if somebody's using that, I will help them recruit so they're not totally on their own trying to find people. And just to go over really quickly some of the differences between K through 12 and college, just because we don't have one of the programs specifically for students with intellectual disabilities, and our students do have to meet those admission requirements and academic requirements. So I just wanted to give a little bit of an overview as far as the differences between the K through 12 system and the post-secondary education system. So this is just any college or post-secondary education unless it has one of those IPSI programs. K through 12 is operating under a different law. So IDEA ensures the right to a free and appropriate public education, which I'm sure you all know. But once you get to the college level, we no longer have IDEA. So we are operating under primarily the ADA, but also the Rehabilitation Act. And so that means that in K through 12, the schools have more responsibility to provide those wraparound services for students. They're responsible for identifying students with disabilities, evaluating them, diagnosing. They're also responsible for modifying the curriculum to make sure that curriculum is appropriate at that student's level. And then if the student is having behavioral issues, the K through 12 system has to address that with a behavior plan. They have to provide those auxiliary supports like OT and PT, and then of course the IEPs and the 504 plans. But at the college level, a lot of that responsibility shifts over to the student. So at the college level, we're providing access versus success in that way. So the student is responsible for reaching out to disability services, disclosing their disability, applying for services. They still have to meet those academic standards. They have to follow the behavioral standards. Unfortunately, we can't accommodate under the ADA, we can't accommodate behavior. So any behavior issues would go to student conduct, and ideally it's a good idea to work on those things in high school to try to prevent any behavior issues before getting to college. And sometimes students need a little bit more time to prepare. Students are also responsible for navigating campus independently, and then also for using their accommodations independently. So unlike in high school, disability services professors, they aren't going to reach out to the student and be prompting them or giving them those extra supports, like reminders and prompts and one-on-one time the way they might in a high school IEP. Although we do have in disability services, students do have a case manager, so they do have access to that support and they can meet with us. It's just not as it's not as wraparound as it is in K through 12 and not as involved as it is in K through 12. So just to go over a little bit what that process looks like when your child is in high school, it's a good idea to prepare way in advance. So do research on what kind of college and college program is going to be appropriate and where your student wants to go. So if they're looking for more of like the Sinclair program that we just talked about, research that and other programs like that. If they want to go for a bachelor degree, but they need like personal care support, maybe Wright State is the appropriate program. So just doing that research, reaching out, meeting with different colleges to see what they offer and what kinds of supports they provide, so you have a good idea and know what to expect going into it. And once you have an idea of where you want to go, apply for those accommodations early on to make sure that you're set and ready to go way before you attend your first semester. When you apply for accommodations, you will be asked to provide documentation most likely. So that is IEP, 504 plan, any doctor's notes or other medical documentation that might be relevant. Once you have that documentation, you meet with disability services, and that's where you will go over what those accommodations will be and what the expectations will look like. And then from there, the student is responsible for using their accommodations, coming to their meetings with their case manager, and following the guidelines that are set forth in that accommodation plan. Some things you can do to prepare is consult with some of the schools you're interested in, ask detailed questions about what things are going to look like, what they can and can't do, get connected to OOD, set up financial supports if your child is going to need personal care services. It's a good idea to make sure you have a waiver long before you come to school, so you're not scrambling for those funds once you're already in school. And then the same with Social Security, Medicaid, any of those disability financial supports, just make sure they're set up way in advance. And sometimes that is a long process. So I would start doing that junior or early senior year, not waiting till spring of senior year. And then also working on preparing some academic strategies, focusing on IEP goals, maybe where you're thinking more about college. What does your student need to do to be independent in college? So for instance, if your student is fully ready to go to college, but they just are not going to be able to find their way around or be able to get up in the morning without somebody waking them up, then maybe that could be part of their IEP goal, to really work on being able to independently navigate places instead of teachers walking them around, just as an example. Every school has a little bit different application process, so it's good to ask about what their process is like, and also knowing what your needs are, so you can ask the right types of questions and definitely apply early. Evaluations are really good. If you have an ETR, that gives us a lot of information that we need to make sure that we have the right accommodations in place. But also a lot of schools will have their own types of provider forms as well that they might ask you to fill out, to have your doctor or your counselor or your OT or whoever it may be fill out those forms just to give additional information. And then other things to consider are behavior. Like I said, we can't do behavior plans at the college level. So making sure that there are good behavior strategies in place and that student is ready to go to college and be on their own is really important before they get here. Also, mental health, stress is a big part of college life just in general. So making sure that those mental health supports are in place if that's a concern, because a lot of times that does become a secondary concern with a lot of our students who are here, maybe don't have mental health concerns in the beginning, but college can be very stressful. So it is a good idea to get set up with that. And also life skills, if your student needs a lot of help with life skills, it might be a good idea to find one of those IPSY programs or to work on life skills before they get here, just so that they can then focus on their academics. Once a student is here, they are responsible for requesting accommodations each semester, and that's the same with any college, whether it's Wright State or any other school, they will be responsible for notifying their professors each semester that they have accommodations. There are no more IEPs or 504 plans, so the professors don't know they have accommodations unless they request them every semester. They also are responsible for scheduling their own tests. We proctor tests in our office for students with testing accommodations, but they do have to schedule it with us. And they're also responsible for using their note-taking or scribe services and any software they need, although we are there to help them and support them, but they do take on more responsibility as far as reaching out and being proactive with those things. As far as students' rights, even though students do have more responsibility than they did in K through 12, they still have rights in college. So if they're requesting an accommodation that doesn't work for the academic program, the school is responsible for exploring alternatives with them, engaging in a deliberative process. So if a student asks me something that I'm not sure if it would alter the academic requirements, then I would have to engage in that process with the professors, the department, to try to come up with some other types of accommodations and determine what's reasonable. And then we also, in every school, will have a grievance and appeals process. As far as long-term success, a lot of times the biggest issue that we see is with students that come to school and they aren't ready. They might be ready academically, but they aren't ready because of things like time management or remembering to set their alarm, coming to class on time, just some of those basic time management and life skill types of things. So that can be a big transition for a lot of our students. We do recommend that if that's a concern, that students start out at part-time and then kind of work their way up. They don't need to finish in 4 years. It's okay to just start with one class, see how it goes, and then take more as time goes on. But it's case by case and just depends on who the person is and what they need. But it is something to think about that usually it's not the academics necessarily that get in the way of a student being successful. It's just those things, the time management, organization, and independence and life skills. Okay, so that is all for me. I think Phil wanted to talk a little bit about OOD.
Yes, hi. I did not prepare a PowerPoint presentation, but I do want to share a document that I can give you as well to if there's a way to well, it'll be electronic, so you can then access it later. But it's more information. I do have a PowerPoint presentation that our agency put together, but I don't like it. So I'm going to leave it alone. Can you see my screen? I really have never used Zoom before. I've got the document.
There you go. It's up now.
Oh, good. Okay. Okay. Well, you may know something about opportunities for Ohioans with disabilities. We're the vocational rehabilitation program with the state of Ohio. Every state has a vocational rehabilitation program. We serve students age 14 and over that are interested in some type of exploring vocations, working, whether it be during school or after school or on the weekends or during the summer. We have multiple programs for transition youth, which you may know about already. But we're embedded in every public school in Ohio, which is all 32 public college and universities. So we have a counselor that's either embedded. I'm at Wright State University at their Office of Disability Services 5 days a week. And I work with the students that most of the students are shared. We both provide services to them. My services are vocationally related. So if someone needs accommodations in their classes or with the school, that's primarily Wright State's Office of Disability Services. Rikki's group takes care of that. But we communicate often if there's ever any concern or any issues that we may have. We discuss them and we try to resolve anything that's for the student. The Office of Disability Services is very proactive in helping the students, and my goal is the same: is to help the students become successful. We provide a number of different services while the students there. Sometimes students will come to the university and they're undecided major, or they decided on a major but really don't think it's going to be the major for them. We help with them as far as doing some career exploration, just to get a better understanding of who they are, what their interests are, and where their skills lie. So we could do that a number of different ways. We do some career exploration activities such as job shadowing experiences, informational interviews. We could do a vocational assessment as well. Sometimes that's already done in high school, but we can do that if it's not done. And then just help them explore different options that they may have. The biggest service that we provide is really help to obtain employment, whether it be during the school year. They can work if they want. Identifying internships and obviously placement after they graduate. The motivation behind us being in the colleges is to help individuals with disabilities get higher paying jobs. That's it. Our agency identifies that we need supports throughout their school program, and that includes their college program as well. I won't go too far because I know you got another presenter, but there's a number of things that we can help with, and it's primarily with the employment piece. I help with the resume writing, the career services. We're working with them as well. They do a very good job in developing resumes for the students. They have a number of internship fairs, job fairs that they put on, and a number of other events. Matter of fact, their internship job fairs this week. It's Thursday. And so the students are registered for that through our program. so they should be good to go. All students that are with us, they have to be eligible for services. That requires us to have documentation of their condition. The ETR would be enough information for us as well to make eligibility. The application process is different. Typically, I used to be able to take the application, and that's not the process anymore. There's a website on this document you can look at. It's www.oodworks.com, and that is our website, and it says apply for services, and there's some questions there. You do need to create an account. I believe it's fairly simple to do. Once we receive that, it will go to a counselor assistant, and the counselor assistant will do the upfront application and any consent forms, things that are needed for us to move forward. They will then assign it to a counselor. If they go to Wright State, they will either come to me or they will go to another counselor that's helping me out, Charlotte Bass. She's a counselor that works with Clark State and a number of other colleges up that way. But once we receive it, then I can make eligibility, and then we can move forward with planning and helping with the college program. There is some requirements, grades. You have to maintain the 2.0 GPA, or at least whatever your major might be. It might be a little bit more than the 2.0. You have 18 months to complete one academic year, so it gives them extra time to, take a lighter load. If they need to take summer classes to meet that load, I support that. If their disability prevents them from maintaining the full-time status, they can go part-time, and we can just justify why we're supporting a extended period of time, so I can extend it for 2 years per academic year. It's not done often, but I can do that as well. We work closely with the Office of Disability Services. There's probably a number of questions that somebody will have. This will help answer some of those questions. Everybody is required to apply for a FAFSA and apply for financial aid through the offices, through Wright State's bursar's office or the registration office. We support college typically based on financial need, so we have to look at grants first to pay for college courses. If there's an expected family contribution, we typically would require families to pay their portion, and it might pay for all of college. But we do have some now we have set aside some funds called educational support funds, and those funds change as far as the amount goes per academic semester. That amount currently is $500 per semester. We can then support the $500 for their college program if the grants do not cover it, and there's a responsibility on their part. I think that's about it for now. I'll let the other presenter go. It looks like she needs time. So
Thank you, Phillip.
sure.
Feel free to put your questions in the chat box if you have anything for OOD. OOD is is one that goes with you from, as he mentioned, like the age of 14. So you can work on your eligibility or submit your paperwork early on. You don't have to wait to you can start working with OOD sooner and start preparing for that career choice. We will have, if Phillip, if you and Rikki would be able to send me your 2 presentations, and I'll be able to share it out on our site. And then if you can unshare your screen. There you go. Oops. Nope. Yeah, just hit the little button that says share, and I think it says stop share. There's a stop share.
Sorry, all I see is the share button.
I think I can do it see if that works. There we go. I think I was able to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, I got you.
Thank you.
And if I know it was on some of the presentation, but if you want to put your contact information in the chat box, that would be helpful. There was a question, and we'll get started with Miami here. I do have Pepper, but there was a question out there about county boards, the DD waivers. Um, and it looks like they're from Greene County. So if there's someone on here that can answer that question for them regarding waivers, we will have a waiver presentation next month, in 1 month from now, about funding for more details. But if you can help them get started on where to go for more information on waivers in Greene County, that would be helpful. Pepper, I believe I made you, yeah, your co-host. And
Hi
I'm
there.
just,
Okay,
there you
great.
are.
I will share here. Let's see, looking for.
And I just heard about this program through just last week, we had a speaker for Project Search was Michael Albrick, and he says, "Hey, Miami's starting a new program. Can they speak during one of the sessions?" And I said, "Perfect timing." So,
It really was. I am looking for, I am great at Zoom usually, but for some reason I can't share my screen. I'm getting a like
okay.
open system settings.
Oh, okay. 1 second. I'll pull it up for you. 1 second.
Okay, thanks, Patty.
Yeah, 1 second. Let me get it. You can start talking and I'll get it shared for you.
Okay. Okay, great. So I'm thrilled to be here tonight. Thank you all for being here and uh, just really thrilled to be part of this conversation, especially because our program at Miami University is really emerging. It is coming into focus in some really exciting ways. I'm Pepper Stetler, by the way. I am a professor of art history at Miami University. What is a professor of art history doing working with a program for students with intellectual disabilities? You might be asking. I'm I'm the mother of a 13-year-old with Down syndrome. So she has completely changed what I thought college was for and who I thought college was for. And I'm really excited to partner with my colleague, Ashley Johnson. We are co-directors of the Access Miami program. We're calling it AMP for short. And Ashley is the senior clinical professor of disability studies and inclusive special education at Miami. So Ashley started this program, I think back in 2015 as a kind of week-long summer program. And then I joined her with that eventually, and then COVID happened, and we kind of took that opportunity to transition to making this into a full academic program. So with that, I will tell you a little bit more about the program. Note our email addresses there on the slide that you see. I'm happy to answer any questions, of course, and get any advice, by the way, from anyone out there as well. So Patty, can you show the next slide, please?
Mm-hmm.
Thanks. So the way that we have designed the Access Miami program is that we are working now on it, making it a degree program. It's an associate arts degree. We're going to have a certificate program as well, but we wanted to have lots of options for students in this program. So we have an associate's degree, and we're designing a 2-year and a 3-year pathway for this associate's degree. Just in case students need to take a little bit more time with it, they can opt for the three-year pathway. And like many programs, IPSE programs, This is a degree program that kind of combines college coursework with on-campus employment and life skills and planning courses as well. So we have 3 specific goals that we're trying to achieve here. We, of course, want to ensure access for students with intellectual and developmental disabilities to the higher education opportunities that they deserve. Of course, we are trying to improve the employment opportunities and experiences for adults with IDD through higher education. And then also, we're really proud and excited about how we think this program has great potential to change the culture and attitudes among Miami students, faculty, and staff about intellectual disability through the tenets and commitments of disability studies. So with that, Patty, could you give me the next slide?
Mm-hmm.
This is a degree program that is really kind of housed in the disability studies program. We wanted to do this for practical reasons, but also academic reasons as well. We think that college should be an important time where people get to learn about themselves, how they define themselves, how society defines themselves. And we're quite interested in giving students an opportunity to do that through the disability studies program. So, like I said, we're transitioning to a full-time academic program. It will be a 2 or 3 year associate degree. We are planning on doing a kind of what we're calling a soft launch of maybe 2 or 3 local transition age students who are interested in taking maybe 1 or 2 Miami classes in the fall of 2026. And we've been working with the Project Search and Project Life programs at Butler Tech to identify some students who might be interested in doing this with us. So just kind of like trying it out for this first year in the fall of 2026. And then if those students are interested in kind of joining the first official cohort in the fall of 2027, those credits that they took in that first year would count towards their degree. So we're hoping that our first cohort of 8 to 10 students will begin in the fall of 2027. Students will be full-time students, and we'll have a program coordinator position in addition to Ashley and I that will provide the wraparound supports from a program coordinator. We also have the Miller Center for Disability Studies, who provides accommodations for students on campus here, and we're partnering with them to support these students as well. Can you advance the slide, Patty? Thanks. Great. So like I said, as part of the degree program, students will complete some Miami Plan coursework. Miami Plan is the name that we give here at Miami to the kind of liberal arts fundamental courses of the bachelor's degree. Students in this program won't be fulfilling all of the Miami Plan requirements, the like liberal arts general education requirements. But we wanted them to fulfill some of those, and some of the disability studies courses would fill those as well. And something that you are probably noticing here is the way in which we're also really interested in this program being very inclusive, and students in the AMP program taking classes side by side with students at Miami in general. And we've set up some supports and structure to be able to do that. So we've got the Miami Plan coursework. There's self-selected electives, so students can choose classes that they're interested in. A series of courses with a disability studies concentration, and accompanied by academic support courses, independent studies that are more the kind of life planning, life skills classes, and work study coursework with supported on-campus employment. So there'll be employment opportunities on campus. There'll be internship opportunities on campus as well. We've talked to a lot of different parts of our campus, from, you know, the Miami, the Richard and Carol Cox Art Museum at Miami, to places like food services, as possible options depending on the career interests of our students. And then, like I said, there's going to be, in addition to that degree program, there's also a disability studies certificate option that would be offered for actually any Miami student. And we are excited about the ways in which we're going to be doing a lot of peer mentoring. Students that are in the inclusive special education degree here might be interested in mentoring a student in the AMP program, or students in the disability studies program, for example, could partner with our students. And initially, as we get going here, AMP is going to be just an academic program and will not have on-campus housing for now. We will hopefully move to that in the future, but we are taking it one step at a time here, and just starting off and getting the academic component in order, and working with Butler County Transportation and any other kind of options for transportation will be possible, I think. Okay, so we're of course interested in increasing the employment opportunities for our graduates. This is one of the only programs in the country that would offer an associate's degree. This is, I have to say, like, pending approval of the state. We are moving through those channels of the pipeline of getting all of these approvals right now. And if this all works out, this would be one of the only programs for students with disabilities that includes an associate arts degree program. AMP will be grounded in disability studies, and we're excited about the ways in which we can bring students with intellectual disabilities into conversations in academic classrooms and in community life about disability and disability studies. One thing that we're doing now as well is we are partnering with willing faculty across campus to support accessible, universally designed, and inclusive courses that benefit not only AMP students, but really all Miami students. So we are working to identify, and we've kind of collected a group of faculty this year at Miami, where we have all kind of joined a group to learn together how to make our classes more inclusive for students with intellectual disabilities. So this is not like we're going to take a student and just kind of throw them into Econ 101 and say, good luck. We're going to have identified faculty that have voiced an interest in having students with intellectual disability in their classrooms, and have committed to a kind of universally designed, accessible curriculum and syllabus for our students. And hopefully that that list of faculty that we've identified and worked with will kind of grow and grow as we get going here. Enrollment in the Access Miami program will be accessible for students with intellectual and developmental disabilities through federal grants and some dedicated scholarship opportunities we have already from private donors. So we're working on our accreditation as a comprehensive transition program that will allow students to access federal aid if they're only, say, doing the certificate program and not the degree program. And then, like I said, we'll have dedicated scholarship opportunities as well through private donors. And the last slide. Okay, great. So here is what we are kind of estimating right now for tuition costs. Like I said, scholarship funds and financial aid will be available. And just to keep this in mind, like for now, it's going to be a non-residential program with no housing costs as part of the tuition, approximately estimated there for everyone. And that's just the kind of regular tuition at Miami. So thank you for letting me share about this. We're really excited and look forward to hopefully hearing from some of you in the future. Like I said, I'm very excited to talk to you. Please reach out on email if you have any questions that I can answer.
Wonderful. Thank you, Pepper, for the information, and it's exciting to see another program opening up for locally. I'm going to thank you all for your presentations. I'm going to close the recording because I want to make sure parents haven't, and different ones have an opportunity to just freely, raise their hand or ask any questions, because I know we've had a couple questions in the chat box. But again, thank each one of you. Thank you for speaking to our parents in our group tonight about the opportunities that are out there for post-secondary, following the high school experience, what is our next step. So 1 second while I close the recording, and thank you again. 1 second.